Hey, it's Marge. Hey, friends. I told you guys we're going to be back with a special surprise guest, and here we are, the big reveal, Crystal Hudson and Prospect Heights. Woo! Oh, and Jeremy's behind the camera as well. Yes, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, to start with, like, we're having a stoop chat. Where are we sitting? Tell us about this amazing stoop.
We are on the stoop of my cousin's house, which is where our mothers grew up. In Prospect Heights here in Brooklyn, and so it's a home that's been in our family for a really long time, and one that we hold near and dear to our hearts.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And what's your Valentine to your hood, your Prospect Heights, or to your district, or
Let's see, my Valentine to the neighborhood and to the entirety of my district really is, you know, for everyone to feel loved and to feel filled with joy. It's a beautiful day today. The weather has been mild. I hope that folks, you know, feel loved, are giving love, are receiving love. So yeah, that's my Valentine wish for everyone.
Sweet. So tell us exactly what your district includes and why was it so important to become a councilwoman? Yeah.
So my district includes Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Crown Heights, Prospect Heights, and a very little bit of Bed-Stuy. And I originally ran for office because I wanted to make government more accessible for more people. I spent over 10 years working in sports, which most people, you know, don't make the connection from sports to public service. But for me, it was really a personal decision. Based on my own experience. I was a caregiver for my mother who had Alzheimer's disease, and that's what really propelled me into public service. I saw firsthand how incredibly difficult it was, especially as the only child of a single parent, to navigate bureaucracy and resources and services and try to figure out what we qualified for when so often we were told what we didn't qualify for. And I wanted to make it easier for other families like mine to get access to resources and services from the government. And so I decided to get into public service and make a difference for my community and other folks here in Brooklyn and across the city. So here I am.
That's amazing. And you head up committee on the aging, right?
Yes, I'm chair of the aging committee, which is an assignment that I am very, very proud of and excited to hold. And that was also because I think the Speaker of the City Council has done a really great job of assigning people to committees that are really relevant to their own personal experiences. And so it's one that obviously, you know, after advocating for older adults for 10 years, it's a committee that I'm really excited to chair.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to make New York City the best place to grow older.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it usually is. A lot of people has lived there for decades and decades. But what is one specific thing that you're really focused on to change in Brooklyn? Like, because of course you see how gentrification is also affecting everything. Inflation is affecting everything. Like, people are moving out of New York because they basically can't afford to live here anymore. Like, you got people that's lived here for like 20 years, 30 years, and now they're moving out because they can't afford, or they're being kicked out of their home. So what is one thing that you look for to bring a solution to that issue?
Yeah. So I mean, basically, that's exactly what I'm trying to address, which is, you know, essentially, how do we allow people and create systems and initiatives and programs and opportunities for people to actually stay where they are, to age in place, and to age in place safely, with dignity, with respect, with all the care that they need. And aging in place is not even just about remaining in New York City. It's also about remaining in your own home or your apartment or wherever you feel comfortable, wherever that home is. Most people, I think almost 80%, I think 77% of Americans want to age at home. They want to age in place. You know, they don't want to be institutionalized. They want to have to, you know, go into a nursing home or live with somebody else because that's the, you know, cheapest way or the most affordable way for them to remain where they are. So I have a package of legislation called Age in Place NYC, And that's a package of bills that are really aimed at doing exactly that. So everything from investing in older adult centers, formerly known as senior centers, where 50% of New York City's older adult population are foreign born. So we want to make sure that older adult centers have the resources in language and the culturally relevant food and programming and things like that are relevant to folks. We want to also make sure that people have access to healthcare. One of the bills addresses telemedicine and ensuring the health department gives, enables people to access, medical care via telemedicine. And then we also have some bills that specifically address housing, making sure that anybody over the age of 60 who might be facing eviction has access to free legal counsel. Currently, you have to make under 200% of the federal poverty line in order to qualify for the right to counsel. And so this bill extends that so that if you're over 60, even if you're not under the 200% poverty line, but you might be facing eviction, you might be at 210% or 250%. You still might be on a fixed income, have limited access to resources. But it's my belief that nobody should be evicted, but particularly if you're 60 plus, you absolutely should not be evicted. And so making sure that we're giving people access to those resources and legal counsel if they find themselves in housing court.
That's wonderful. We've done a few stories from elders who are facing eviction in the area. Ray Cortez on St. Mark's
I just read
Place.
that story.
Everybody's our community's really helping get behind him. I'm seeing if anyone has any questions. Hey everybody, feel free to add any questions for the councilwoman. It's so important, and we have a whole new intergenerational storytelling project coming. So
that's exciting.
Thank you. Preserving the stories of our elders.
I wanted to ask how being a councilwoman or being a political figure, how has that changed? How has that helped you grow? As a black woman, as an LGBT, part of the LGBTQ community, there's a rift between political systems and both when it comes to supporting black women and also supporting members of the LGBTQ. So how has that, how's being a political figure helped you grow, and also what ways do you want to help both groups? Yeah,
well, I think actually the common misperception is that there are only things that there are some things are for black folks or black women, other things are only for LGBTQ folks or and so the reality is we need to support all of the things, all of the people, and embrace everyone's intersectional identities and everyone's intersectionality, and so support for me hasn't necessarily looked like, I'm only getting support from the queer community or I'm only getting support from the black community. Support for me has looked like I'm being supported by everyone. When I was elected, I was the first openly gay black woman ever elected in New York City, along with Councilmember Richardson Jordan in Harlem. We were the first two. And so, I think what that said was, people want us. People want people like us to represent them. People see value in our perspectives. As far as growth, I think, a lot of it has been navigating politics, navigating systems that weren't really designed or intended for people like me to be in elected office, and also navigating the nuances and intricacies of actually delivering care to our communities and being in service of others.
That's beautiful. I wanted to make sure we asked about your the Black agenda that you have put forth, especially it's Black History Month. Even though we try to say it's every day is Black History Month. Yeah.
Black History Month is every day. Women's History Month is every day.
Exactly.
Right.
What do you want to share about that? What's the high priorities?
Yeah, so the Black Agenda was published 2 years ago during Black History Month as well. And really it is a policy report, a policy platform on how I know that local government is capable of addressing and undoing all of the racist and in particular anti-Black policies, practices, and laws that we have on the books. And I always say, to be clear, the Black agenda is an inclusive agenda, not an exclusive agenda. So I believe that when Black people fare well, everybody fares well. And so it's not about, not delivering an Asian agenda or a Latinx agenda or any other type of agenda. It's really saying when we think about and look at the communities that have been most marginalized over generations, when you think about Black people in New York City who've experienced redlining, the war on drugs, police brutality, all of these things, and you create legislation that's really centered on those communities, then you get legislation, you get policies that really benefit and uplift everyone. So that's really what the Black agenda is about, is rooting solutions in the experiences of Black people so that we can all be better off here in New York City.
Amen. Do you have any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Anything with your policy that relates to abortion rights and allowing women to have safe abortion rights in New York City. Of course, abortion rights in New York City is still illegal. Mm-hmm. They're always trying to. They did it in Texas. They do it in southern states where they're trying to take away all abortion rights and take away all rights for women to have with their anatomy. So, any policies that you have or anything that you're doing, because I know you're also a community organizer. So, any things that you're doing to support abortion rights for all women in New York.
So and by we, I mean the City Council, we passed a package of legislation last year around, even further securing access to abortion care, access to reproductive care, access to health care, for everyone here in New York City. We've worked with our partners in the state to ensure that New York State remains a safe place for people to access abortion care. We actually created the biggest municipal fund for abortion care in the country. And I think that's, a lot of that is what you get when you have a majority women city council like we do. For the first time, we have 31 women out of 51 council members. I think previous to this, we had 11. So that was a huge jump. And, we're also being led by a speaker who's a woman and a Black woman. And, so these are the priorities that we have set out, for ourselves. I think despite the falling of Roe v. Wade, I think healthcare, certainly maternal health care, was a top priority for everybody. For me, thinking again about the Black agenda, it was Black maternal mortality and thinking about what can we do to address that crisis. Across the country, Black women are 3 times more likely than white women to die giving birth. Mm-hmm. In New York State, they're 8 times more likely. In New York City, they're 12 times more likely to die. And so one of the first bills that I passed was actually ensuring that anybody giving birth has access to doulas, knows what a doula is receiving information about how they can get access to a doula, how they can hire a doula, and how to also get a doula for free. It was a package of legislation around maternal care. So it wasn't my specific bill about free doula access, but that was one of the bills that was in the package. And so that's just a little bit of, what we've been doing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. We probably have to wrap up soon, but do you have any special stories you want to share just of being on the stoop, like growing up here? Memories, sad, happy, joyful, silly?
I mean, I think this house was always just such a family house. My grandparents lived here. My mother and her sisters were raised here. My cousin lives here now. He's raised his family here. It's a place that I, continue to come back to and always, look fondly upon and, make a point to walk up and down this block in particular so I can pass the house and just look at it. And, I think the memories that I have are generally just a family. the food that we used to cook, or that I used to eat, or I don't even know if I was old enough to be eating all the food.
Like what? What are examples?
Well, no, just like I was like a baby, you know what I mean? For some of it, or like a toddler. I actually fell down a flight of steps in this house.
Oh no!
You said good and bad memories. I think I was like 4 or 5-ish, and I was like, I think I must have been like 3, and I was going down the stairs, and I think there was like maybe a couple of nails at the bottom or something, and I like fell down the stairs, and I had a couple of scars on my leg, but that's not. that's like, I don't know.
That's always the thing that you remember when you're in pain.
I know. Pain stays with you.
Well, because I have scars, and so it's like one of the
It's
things
true.
that I, think about. But I still think so fondly of the house.
What were some of the dishes though that you even if you were too
like
young?
my grandmother used to make tamales all the time, and I definitely like ate tamales when I was older. But I'm also thinking about just like being. Not necessarily memories that I have, but memories that I have been told about. And so, just like the whole family gathering, and like me being a baby or like a very young child, and like, family meals and things like that. And my mother learning to cook here in this house, and, those types of things. So.
Your cousin was telling us before you got here about, was this the first Black family to have a house on this block?
It's probable.
You're like, I have no idea.
He's older than me, so he would know. He would
amazing.
know better than I would. But yeah, I mean, my grandparents came here in the 40s, and I think bought this house shortly thereafter. So it's very likely.
Special place.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Do you still do any work for Alzheimer's, like to help anybody who has Alzheimer's or family member that's
Yeah, I mean, I try to be as helpful to folks as possible. I mean, I have a lot of friends and colleagues and just acquaintances will reach out to me if they know somebody who has a family member who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. They'll send them my way and say, is this somebody that you can maybe give some advice to or point them in the right direction? I share resources with people, tell them some of the organizations that were really helpful to me and my mother throughout that process, and try to be as helpful as possible. I work with organizations. We did, for the city council, we did a training with an organization to teach people about some of the signs of Alzheimer's and dementia. We have people who come into our office looking for assistance, for housing assistance, that we then realize, or they come in with a particular complaint about something, and we realize they're displaying what could be early signs of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. We get calls sometimes from people's neighbors who say they're really concerned about somebody who might be living alone, an older person. So we deal with that stuff, just about every day in our office.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a painful thing to be the primary caregiver, I imagine.
Yeah, it's hard, and Alzheimer's is an awful disease that sort of steals the person from you, your loved one, changes their personality. I think most people think of Alzheimer's just as memory loss, but it's a degenerative brain disease. And so ultimately, usually what people die from is either a complication related to Alzheimer's disease, or, it's literally like your body stops functioning, and so it's a really hard thing to watch over time as somebody loses all of their faculties and, the ability to swallow, the ability to walk, to, do everything. But memory is usually one of the first signs of the disease.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not the only symptom.
Yeah. Do you have a beautiful memory of your mother that you, and as we close, that you want to share?
I have so many. I mean, the ones that I think are sort of like most fun and make me smile. So my mother loved to dance, and so even during the pandemic, I mean, in 2020 specifically, when my mother's caregivers, we told them to stay home. We wanted everybody to be safe and healthy, and so my partner and I or like, you know, home alone with my mom all day, and we would just have dance parties with her.
Oh.
And she would just dance. We'd put on, you know, some Diana Ross, and she would dance, and it was really, really sweet.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
We need like a dance party right here on the stoop right now. Want to dance?
I'm not really much of
You're
a
like,
dancer,
we're
but
I won't make it.
you're welcome to dance.
No, that's okay. I'm way too white for that. Anyway, it was so great to chat with you, have a
Yeah.
Stoop chat, and we're going to share Crystal's full story as soon as we have it. Oh my God. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
chatting with us.
Of course,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
and all the best to
Thanks
you
for
in
having me.
your next campaign.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your
Appreciate it.
service. You guys are all
Yeah.
you and your team are doing amazing
Yeah,
things.
I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah,
That
and
would
happy
be-
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Keep up the great work, and everybody's proud of you.
Thank
Yeah.
Everybody's
Thank
proud of you.
you.
Your partner's proud of you. Everybody.
Aw.
you. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Peace out, everybody.
Take care.
Bye. Why can't I find? Okay.